Jess King. Welcome to the How to Be a Redhead podcast. We're so excited, fangirls, right here.
Fangirls.
Same. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh my gosh, I was actually like really nervous when I don't know why. I think it's just because we followed you for so long.
Your whole pregnancy journey, like everything.
Oh my God.
It's been so amazing to see your beautiful family. I think that is just my inspiration. Like everyone in our warehouse, they have the most beautiful family. I just love it.
Yeah.
I prayed so hard that that my son would be a redhead. So hard. I was like, please. And we all know it like tends to skip generations, and I'm like, oh no, and he's blonde, and that's even more strange to me that came through, considering his mix. So anyway, thank you so much. They are, I mean, we're biased, of course, but it's been really fun becoming a parent. For sure.
It's crazy, right? We'll get into that. And my kids aren't redheads either. I have two little ones, and my daughter's hair is blonde, but I don't know if it's going, I don't know. She was born such dark hair, and then it's changed. So we'll see. But I know we were telling this to you prior to our recording, but I wanted to channel you, and I take all your classes. I love you. I love your energy on the bike. You're so inspiring. So I took one of your classes this morning, and one of your strength light arms, which huge. I love the 10-minute light arms. They get me through my day when I can't work out or can't clip in. So thank you for that. And we'll go into details about Peloton and your career. But before we start, we wanted to ask Jess, what was it like for you growing up with red hair?
It's interesting. You always stand out. I think in dance as few, I was one of few. It was always me or them, right? Because you're getting typecasted. So it was, even when I was on So You Think You Can Dance, they call the last step before you make it to top 20 and onto the show the green mile, because you walk this like green carpet and you walk down and they tell you like your fate if you're on or off the show. They waited to the very end to have the two redheads walk down together. And it was like, damn, like it's one of us, obviously. And so it's things like that where you're just like, okay, not only are people going to notice me, so it was this kind of pressure to be excellent in a way and like really showcase that this was not, because you get teased a lot. I got teased a lot, I think like, did the drapes match the curtains? That one really, that one was really traumatizing, I think.
Same. Adrian and I talk about that. Yes. That
It was-
comment.
I remember the first time someone said it to me, and I was so young. I was like in 8th grade. And I still remember being like, I don't even know what that means. I didn't know.
You're like, curtains in my house.
And so then you grow up with like shame around it. But then what I found interesting as an adult is like, there was this celebration of like, oh my, wow. You know what I mean? Like how beautiful this, like, how exotic. And I think that's one of the things that draws my wife and I to one another, because we each find the other so exotic. I'm like, oh my gosh, you and your like brown skin and your dark curly hair. I'm like, oh, it's everything I'm not,
Yeah.
And since we have been together, which is 9 years now, we notice this pairing everywhere. This combination of like a redhead with somebody with brown skin, and there is this like, we believe this attraction because the other is so exotic. And it kind of was this like full circle healing moment to feel very teased about having red hair outside of my home. Inside my home, honey, my hair was my crown. You could not cut it. My mother would not let anybody brush it.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It was past my ass for like, until I was like 7 or 8. And I remember I would go to my dad. They would alternate weekends, and I wouldn't let him touch my hair. It was so long. So she would just like put it in these like tight braids, So then it was like the Pippi Longstocking by the end of the weekend I was just like a mess. But it was something I contended with and never fully embraced until I got older, because I felt almost vilified. Like redheads are like, you're so fiery and sassy and stereotyped. And the thing is, for me, those stereotypes are accurate. They're 100% true.
Yeah. That is too good. And so speaking of your mom, we read, and this was a quote, I grew up watching my mom, who immigrated from Chile, in the physical fitness space. She was an aerobics instructor throughout the 90s and later started personal training and bodybuilding before eventually opening her own gym. And being Latina is inherently who I am, you said. I just thought that was so amazing that you have been so inspired, because when people see you on Peloton or they see you on social media, just to see your backstory and see that you come from such a powerful woman, I don't know why, it just makes me feel like there's another element of you that's because of her. And I just found that to be so, so wonderful. So can you tell us more about this and how your mom inspired who you are today?
So growing up, it was just my mom and I and me. It was just the two of us, mostly. And we were best friends. True. I think we held hands until I was 12, until it was like awkward to be walking through the mall with your mom. And then it was like a couple of years where I felt bad about it. We were very, very, very close. And my mom also didn't really have many friends. So she just kind of poured that into me. And I genuinely got to know her. As much of her as that she knew of herself. And the things that she knew of herself were discipline, focus, hard work. Because before she came to America, and the way she came here was through a golfing scholarship. She was, she was an exceptional golfer.
Wow.
Number one in her country at a very young age. Didn't grow up a traditional life where, you go to school and then after school you play or you do your thing. She was on tour competing. So she didn't really even go to school. She had tutors and focused predominantly on golf. And so there was this, that's what she knew. That was fun to her, that hard work, winning, competition, being excellent, being an athlete. That's where the value was. And so those values were instilled in me. It wasn't until later that I realized what was missing or what I needed to be a whole person, because that's just one element of being a person and being successful. I came out very naturally with a very high EQ and super hyper driven for connection. And very emotive, lots of big feelings. Now with kids, you're like, feeling. I'm like, I am having big feelings. And as much as influences my mom did have on me, I was able to channel what I resonated with most, which was what can now be interpreted as more of an artistic expression, an artistic approach to life and living. That I brought the element of athleticism and movement into dance. And that's where I was able to channel all of it. And it was so amazing because I got to create, I got to, all of the things that she instilled in me, like discipline, hard work and focus and all of that stuff. Like she was able to support me. And then I was able to like take the way that I felt about my life and do something with it and be creative about it. And I think that was super necessary for my survival in so many ways. And then again, stepping into becoming an adult, you always have this moment in life where you turn around and you're like, oh, whoa, like, am I smarter than my parents? Wait, hold on.
Yeah. Like, I'm going through that right now.
It's super kind of shocking. You're like, hold on a second. And then it kind of leads you on this spiral to like figure out like, what does this all mean? And, I'm pretty existential about things like that. But it was, you know, all of the amazing qualities that our parents instill in us. And I'm sure we won't, I hope not to. I'm working hard not to make these same mistakes, but inevitably you do the best that you can. And then it's the next generation's, you know, responsibility then to take and keep going. But I do think it is our job in this lifetime to do as much healing as we possibly can, and transformation, so that we can, you know, break those patterns and break those chains and not pass that down and not be like an inherited. We want to intentionally give and inherit the qualities that make us incredible and beautiful and whole, and like be mindful of the underbelly of some of what is hard work and competition. You know, there's that perfectionist thing that gets built there. It's kind of hard to, not kind of, it is very challenging to dismantle that and really establish your own sense of self-worth in a competitive space or in any sort of space. So
yeah. And I Stephanie and I were both talking about your positivity. And so we came across this really amazing, I mean, it's long, but basically it was really inspiring, we thought, because you wrote saying, well, this is in an interview, saying about 10 years ago, you were flat broke in a very dark chapter of your life living in New York City, but you decided to have that positive mindset and say yes, that you were going to take on opportunities. And you happened to take a meeting with the Peloton CEO, John Foley, when it was still in beta testing. And so we just found that to be so positive, because so many people would have given up, and you just kept going and saying yes and being positive, and look where you are now. And it seems like it was perfect timing and meant to be. So do you feel like this opportunity changed your life? And we can talk, because, you know, you had quite the journey just to get to that point, but we just were like, she is so strong and powerful. And look at where you are now. You know, I mean, you are just a household name and everyone knows you, and it's an incredible story.
Yeah. Do you look back and you're like, holy crap, I can't believe.
I think that every day, you know, like, holy, especially having two kids. I'm like, oh, there's like two people here, and
that rely on you for everything.
Yeah, like I have that experience every day. Certainly could not have predicted from that meeting where this would have gone 10 years later, and where we are now. I wish the lighting was better. I wish I had put on bronzer for you all at this point.
Oh, stop.
No.
You look so good. You look so good. You really do.
I'm distracted by my translucentness is distracting me. It's interesting you say like a positive mindset, because I don't know if I would have identified with that. I think I have always had an impulse to keep going. It's never been an option to stop. And I think when you are broke, right? When you are like, your needs are not like, what choice do you have? I mean, of course you could, but then what? Like, then I would have to leave New York, and then what? And then where do I go? Live with my mom? You know, like, you start to be like, I sink or swim. And this is not the first time that I have found myself in an uncomfortable position. This was maybe the darkest of many, potentially the most dangerous. I was in an abusive relationship. And so, and beyond just being in an abusive relationship with a narcissist, and there being a lot of drugs and alcohol involved, and just like that whole thing that you could imagine, even more so is that I wasn't on my path at all. Right. I wasn't, and I have always known it since a very young age, like I have a light.
Yeah. I was just thinking you have a light. I was just thinking that.
Thank you. I think we all have a light, but I have always like felt my spark, and it wasn't until I read this letter from Martha Graham to Agnes DeMille. I quote it frequently. I hear it. It is such a mantra and now manifesto in my life, this whole letter. It's worth reading. It's short. But Martha Graham says, and Martha Graham's famous modern dancer, mother of modern dance, and she says, No artist is pleased at any time. There's only a queer divine dissatisfaction, a blessed unrest that keeps us marching and unlike the others. And when I read that, I was like, that's what it is. It's like, it's not that I am not grateful for the world I see around me or what I have. It's that there's this feeling, this like, it's an unrest in me that says, well, keep going, create, keep going, keep trying. What you got here, what else can you do? Like this, like just genuine light, that an impulse and energy and drive, a propensity to do that. And it's been very useful, especially in those moments where I'm like, what a mess. What a mess. You know, like, what am I going to do? And this is a pattern for me. I think I really thrive in weaving a web of chaos for myself in some capacity or another, simply because I like to push myself. And this is not healthy. I'm not recommending people do this. I'm just noticing this pattern because it's happening again now in a completely different category of my life, that I just create things, challenges for myself, hardships even, to really push, because I've found that on the other side of those is extreme abundance. This empowering feeling of like, I did that. My dad always says, like, you're like a cat. Like, you always land on your feet somehow. You create these insane messes in your life, and then you land on your feet.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, you just taught me so much, I feel like, just about myself, because sometimes I'm so hard on myself because I'm just like you. Like, I love challenges and I love to work and I love to just be ambitious and I love to conquer things. And it's sometimes hard for me to be around people who aren't like that. And I have to work on knowing that not everyone is like me. But then sometimes I'm like, why am I making this so hard on myself? I can't enjoy things. Like, I find that when I get to be at the success point, that I want more, that I want more. And then I see everything on TikTok about like living the soft life. And I'm like, well, that gives me anxiety. But then I love your outlook on it, that that's just who you are and pushing yourself is okay. And I think that I was just listening to you being like, why am I so hard on myself about wanting to strive for that next thing? Like, it's okay to do that.
It's totally okay. And living that soft life, I'd like to break that down a little bit, or what I think that means or should mean. It's not that you're going to change who you are when you're, I don't know, you are pointing over here or something, right? Like who you are when you have the momentum behind you of creating, of you've developed a rhythm, you're in a flow, like you don't want to take a day off, or when you do have a day off, you feel stressed out because you want to get back into the thing that you're doing. You know, that's from a hormonal level, just stress level, it's genuinely not sustainable. It's not good for your body. It's not aligned with the rhythm of what is like a day, a breath, a season, a week, and what's necessary for your well-being. So I don't think it's about changing that, or definitely not shaming that, but it's bringing a softening around that. It's inviting a softening into that space. It's not saying you have to leave this space and go be soft somewhere else. It's saying be you, but just know that like inviting a softening in is going to bring this holistic sense of connection to around the thing that it is you're trying to create or wanting to build. Does that
makes total
That does. It gives me a lot of peace, to be honest. Thank you so much for that. That's really so good.
You're so welcome.
And we want, so going into more of your career, before you became a household name at Peloton and you were a professional and competitive dancer, which is amazing. How did you get into dance? And then you were top 10 finish on season 4 of So You Think You Can Dance. And then the lead role in Circus du Soleil, which, oh my gosh, in Vegas. So did those experiences prepare you for your current role, you believe, as a Peloton instructor?
I think everything did. I mean, again, Peloton didn't exist, right? And I'll get into my career in a second. Remind me if I get off track. But Peloton didn't exist. It wasn't like I could go to school and say, what do you want to be when you grow up? Well, I want to be a Peloton instructor, right? Not a thing.
Yeah, right.
Home fitness, honestly, SoulCycle had just like become a thing. And to your point, I was a dancer, and as much as I resonated with my mom, I also fully rejected the idea of fitness.
Because you just wanted to create your own path.
Like, I am an artist. I am an artist and I am an athlete. And those are the two things that I do together. She wanted me to do like competitive fitness figure. I'm like, no, absolutely not. I think to stay with my body, I need the world to feel, so I was like, I never wanted to, the professional dance landscape is quite intimidating. It was for me when I was in LA, and when I came to New York, it was even more challenging because the requirement is to sing here because of Broadway. And I am super talented. I promise you, I can do damn near anything. But the one thing I cannot do is sing. I have tried. I'm just not good. It's not enjoyable for anyone. I promise.
I did want to make a point. Sophia, your wife, for our listeners who don't know, she's beautiful. Insane. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It's again, gorgeous. For me, it's like I attract the things that I,
Yeah. It's totally true. Opposites. You guys are like, you guys are, but you have the strengths, and like you take up your strengths and weaknesses. Like Stephanie and I always say, like, my strengths are her weaknesses. Her weaknesses are my strengths. It's like a good team.
I want to podcast you guys because I have so many questions for you, but I want to interview you. I know where I was going with that. It would have been really easy along the way to take a side hustle teaching fitness in any sort of boutique fitness space, because I did grow up in the gym watching her. I knew everything. Before even becoming like certified to be a personal trainer, I was like, like I studied with her. She trained me. I was side by side with her through all of her bodybuilding competitions. She went from bodybuilding to Olympic weightlifting. She's 5 feet tall.
Wow. And a golfer. Oh my gosh.
She's a beast, but she's literally looks like a miniature Barbie, but she's a beast. So crazy. like a jacked Barbie doll. But it would have been really easy for me to do that. And I resisted it and I refused it and stayed uncomfortable in my lane because I was so committed to being an artist and to that life. I wanted it. I wanted it my whole life. I started dancing when I was 2.5, where they put you in like the little tumble dance program. And then it was all I ever wanted to do was dance and gymnastics. And by the time I was 12, I was competitive in both. And that started being a conflict, right? Because you have to train a lot. And then each weekend it's like you have a meet, but you have a dance competition, you have a meet. So it was like you kind of have to pick one. And I went with dance. That's what I wanted to do. There was a lot of fear in gymnastics. I'm also hypermobile. Are you guys like double jointed or bendy?
Double jointed.
Yeah. Like super, super bendy and hypermobile. Yeah. And so gymnastics was challenging because I got injured a lot, and there was not even like really no amount of strength that I could build to support like my ligaments from popping in and out so often. And it's amazing that you can do cool, like bendy, right? Your lines are beautiful. Like you do all the things, but the risk is that you get injured because you go too far. And that was happening to me. And so I was like, I just, I'm going to dance, and I like those friends better, honestly. So that's what I did. And then from there, I wanted to get out of Myrtle Beach. I grew up in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I knew at a really young age that I was like, I have this light, and it's not like, and it doesn't look like any of the people around me. It doesn't.
Where you were living?
Yeah, there was this like really like an intuitive sense that I didn't belong there, and I wanted to get out, but my parents didn't have the means to like get me out. And my dad was like, you're going to college. And I was like, I wrote this whole essay on why I wanted to move to LA to become a professional dancer, and how wasting time and money in college was just like not the thing. And they're like, we're not going to help you. I'm like, all right, fine. So I took a year off after high school and started teaching dance at the studio that I grew up in. I just needed a break from the whole thing. And then after the first year, I was like, well, I might as well go to college. I had a scholarship. And so I went to Coastal Carolina College in my hometown. When I was a junior in college is when I take this all back. When I was I started college and I saw season 2 of balloons. I saw season 2 of So You Think You Can Dance. And I was like, I have to be on this show. This is how I'm going to get out of here. It was like the first dance hadn't even finished of the first episode.
And you're like,
I remember it was Allison Holker and Ivan. And I was like,
I belong on this show.
And it was like, this is how you're getting out. This is the only way to get out, because otherwise you have to go do cruise ships, bank money, which is amazing, by the way. It's a lot of dancers do that. Go work cruise ships, save your cash, move to LA, do your thing.
I had a girlfriend who did that, or she moved to New York, but yeah, it's very popular. Yeah.
It's super, super common. And that was my plan if this didn't work out. So I auditioned for season 3. I made it to Vegas, made it through a few rounds and got cut. And I came back to Myrtle and I was like, okay, now I know exactly what I need to do. And I have a year to do it. And so I just committed to that whole year. I was still in college and all I did was focus on that. I was like, I need ballroom training. So I went and took some ballroom lessons. Not many. I was like, I have a ton of energy. I need to focus around this. I started running. I wanted to get in shape. I also started reading The Law of Attraction, The Secret, getting my brain,
mindset,
my thoughts, my mind aligned, journaling for it. I had a key to the dance studio. I would go into the dance studio after hours instead of going to the club with my friends and just improv, because I knew on a drop of a hat, a judge could be like, dance now for this, And so I was just sharpening my skills and getting ready. And so by season 4, it was so bizarre. The audition, the whole process, there's multiple layers to it, right? Maybe 3 or 4 stops before you get into the thing. So you make it on the show. And it felt like the door flew open for me every time. You come in, I'm like, what? So that really gave me the springboard to get out of Myrtle Beach, to get to LA. I was off the show. We went on tour. I broke my ribs on the show. And
oh wow. Oh my
God.
I heard that's the most painful ever.
It's it's so interesting how the whole thing happened. And without getting too in the weeds about it, I'll say this, all the journaling and everything that I was doing, I only ever said, I will make top 10. I will make top 10. Those are the words that I wrote. I will make
that out there in the universe.
Because top 10 is when you go on tour, and that's when you have an opportunity to make money. Obviously that's fun. You can go on tour. Yeah. So it was want to make top 10. So I made top 10. And the next day is when I had to leave because my ribs broke. So and they had been broken. And, again, it was really traumatizing for a lot of reasons, but I learned so much. And I just think the biggest takeaway for me, amongst a lot of other things, but the biggest takeaway is see your dream through to the end. See it through past what you even think is possible, past winning first. What's after that? How it just showed me, I'm like, look, I literally wrote myself here. I manifested myself here. Look, the receipts are here, post-dated everything. And it only says, I will make top 10.
And you did.
And I did, but that was where it ended. So fascinating, really wild chapter in my life. And then went on tour, moved to LA, was in LA for 4 months, also at another incredibly broke moment in my life because I spent all of the money I made on tour at Forever 21 and Charlotte Russe, I'm sure.
Oh my God.
We all have.
We all had a Forever 21 stage, right? Yeah. It was like limited 2 for us, and then it went to, when we got a little bit older, Forever 21, and that was where, yes, we blew all of our money. Yeah.
Was, wow. And so then I had an agent, and she sent me for this audition, and I didn't really know what it was, but I went, and it was all ballroom dancing. And I really had no training, no experience ballroom dancing, but I can dance. So whatever, let's go. Mm-hmm. It had a lot of fire in me too, because I didn't know what the job was. I just knew I needed a paycheck. So whatever it was, let's book it. Let's see if we can like stay in LA at least one more month. And then I got a call back the next day, and they're like, bring your goggles and swim cap and bathing suit. I'm like, what is happening? So we do it again, audition again. They're like, all right, there was this huge like strength test and swim test. I'm like, what is happening? I really didn't have a concept of what I was doing. And then a few days later, I got a call. It's like, you got the job. I'm like, what is it? And they're like, it's technically not Cirque du Soleil. I say that so you can grasp the magnitude of it.
Okay.
The creators of Cirque du Soleil split ways. Guy kept Cirque du Soleil. Franco Dragón created his own, Franco Dragón Productions. So he did Celine's A New Day. He did Le Rêve, House of Dixie. So he does these large scale productions that are not technically Cirque, but like it is that. So essentially the show that I was in was at the Wynn. It is now since closed, which is super heartbreaking, but it was a water show. So a giant pool, 30 feet deep. And the ballroom dancers in the show were also the lead. So you do the lead, let's say for a week, and then you swing out and then you dance and then you do the lead. And it was wild. You have to get scuba certified. There are exits in the pool. So you dance a lot fast and then you jump in the water. You get caught by scuba divers. You swim out through tunnels, costume change.
What an experience. Wow.
Through a 90-foot Oculus, dropping into the water 30 feet in the water while the water's on fire above your head. Really insane.
Wild. Yeah.
Insane. So to really answer your question, did all of this prepare me for Peloton? When I took the conversation with Foley and I was like, this is dope. I also, promised myself a year of yes. And that's what you're referring to, is that positive mindset. I don't know if it was a positive mindset. It was out of necessity. It was like,
a mindset of yes, which I love. Yeah.
Right? Like it was yes to everything. It was, hey, do you want to come with me to this friend's party? Yes.
Yes.
Hey, do you, I need help. Do you want to help me babysit? Yes. It was any opportunity that because my immediate reflex is no. And I don't, speaking of, that's my mom's immediate reflex. You always have to like convince. So speaking of passing down.
I'm the same way.
Right. So I recognized that about myself, and I was like, all right, in an attempt to, change this habit, I'm really going to challenge myself to say yes to things. And then it just so happened that this was something that presented, and it was like, okay, yeah. But when they said, after coming in to take classes and, getting to know everybody and trying, understanding what this all was, they're like, we'd love for you to audition. And I said no.
To Peloton in the beginning? First. Wow.
I said, I just said, just hire me. Like,
instead of doing an audition.
Yeah, I go, why
I
do you
love
want,
that.
Why
I
do
love
you
that
want
you
me to
said that.
audition? I'm like, look at my background.
Yeah.
I can perform, musicality, body, da-da-da-da-da. I can do this. All you have to do is teach me how to ride a bike. And then I'm going to be the thing that you need to make this whole shebang work. Yeah. But like they're like, well, we just need you to ride for like 3 minutes. I'm like, exactly. What am I going to do? Go on YouTube, take a soul cycle class, come in here and just pretend to do.
Yeah.
Just hire me. And they're like, okay.
Wow. Good for you.
I know. I mean, literally that would absolutely never, happen. Now it's a really wild story. I'm sure I shouldn't even tell it, but it's true. That's how it all went down. And I just knew that I had the skill sets necessary for this. What I also knew in that moment was that this is the first time that I was going to have a microphone on, right? As a performer and as somebody who's getting people to feel something in the audience, it was all through movement and music and never through
voice,
my words.
Yeah.
And so that's when I was like, I better figure out. And I also knew that I had a lot to say. I had big, strong opinions about things, but my experience of sharing those opinions with people in my life or giving possibly unsolicited advice or even advice was that it wasn't landing. The people around me weren't listening. They weren't taking the advice. It was being met with a lot of resistance. And I'm like, if I know that intuitively and that I am actually right, that they should listen to what I'm saying, why aren't they listening to what I'm saying? It must be the way that I'm saying it. And it must be me. And so I felt insecure about that. It felt a vulnerable thing for me, having this microphone and the potential to have such a large audience base in a live setting, that I needed to be able to entrust the integrity of my words and the delivery of them, because I'm not acting in that moment. There's no what you see when I'm on the bike or on the tread or in front of the camera really ever at this point is just me. And I can't rely on any version of that's not 100% authentically me and true, because it's too much of a reflex. I don't even remember teaching half the time, it's like a very much of an out of body experience very much deeply in the body at the same time. But so I just wanted to get educated. I wanted to figure out what to do. So I became a certified life coach. I went to CTI. I got trained. It took me like a couple years actually, because they require, 200 hours. Like, it's not a joke.
Wow.
It's not.
And this is after you're hired at Peloton.
Yeah, this was all at the same time. After I got hired at Peloton, there was still a few months of time before the studio had even opened.
Wow.
And then we had to open the studio, and then that, you know what I mean? So it was, and then there were still only 25 people on our leaderboard for like a year.
Wow.
So there was this,
growth that was happening within
the
company.
Startup, right? Yeah, and we were starting up. And so I was like, I'm starting up too. And so I took it as a chance to get all the certifications I needed to know how the hell to be a legitimate expert in this field. Even though I have the performance experience and movement, all this background, I still am a legitimate athlete, and I want to take this art, I consider it an art form, very, very seriously, and speak to it with integrity and respect. And really, I can teach anything. I'm a natural teacher. That I also get from my mother. But being able to marry that with like the science is just more powerful. And educating people, we have a responsibility to do that. So and then we continue our education all the time. I had a workshop this morning, which is why we had to push it back just a little bit.
With your life coach. I love that, because I think coming from someone who goes on the Peloton and takes your classes, other instructors too that I love at Peloton, sometimes it's like you get goosebumps when you say something, or I'm talking about, I get like chills sometimes when you say something, or I'm taking Robin's class and she says something, or Tune Day, and I'm like, oh my God, that makes sense. I needed to hear that. And I do, like, after class, sometimes I have a sticky note if Robin says something, or you, and I'm like, oh my God, like, I needed to hear that today. Like, I took a class of Robin's a couple weeks ago, and she was like, discomfort equals growth. And I was like, I needed to hear that personally for something that I was dealing with outside of the bike and in life. But it's like, your words really it makes my day when I take your class, because it's those chills, those moments when you're like, and you're funny too on the bike. So that also, like, on those moments when you don't want to keep going and you're like, oh my God, I have to hide the time in the top left, because I'm like, oh my God, there's 8 minutes left to the class and I want to stop. But
Steph, I think you also said, I don't know if you were pregnant with Isla at the same time that Jess was pregnant, but you always said like you loved how she just like
you
was
showed your belly.
Boobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where was I going to put it?
But I loved taking your class when I was pregnant because it was nice to take a class that you're looking at someone who's going through what you're going through, you know, with everything that happens with pregnancy. Mm-hmm. But you're just, the words that you say really do impact me on such a personal and positive way. That,
and don't you love that she knows that?
Yeah,
that's why
and
I love that you're so keen to know that people like Stephanie and me are like taking those words to heart. And it matters to you how people are taking that information.
And sometimes, Jess, you say funny things like the class that I took this morning. It was a Hill EDM, and then you were like, "You love this breakfast is served," and the way you said it, and I needed that laughter though. So it's like you know during the classes, you know that it's just so beautiful that the times when I need the laughter, you say it, and then the times when I need that those encouraging words and those moments on like, yes, I can do this, and then bring it back to like not even work, but like what's happening maybe personally in Adrian and I's life. It's like times like that where I'm like, okay, like I needed to hear that. So thank you. I just wanted to say, because then, and of course we'll go into music because that's a whole different layer to your classes. But I just had to share that because the words from someone, like, they mean so much.
I appreciate it. I'm very touched. It is by design. I don't take those words lightly. Most often the words that I say resonate because it's coming from a real experience that I've had, a real life lesson that I've had. Sometimes Sophia will take a class of mine, my wife, and then be like, did you just like read your diary? Like what, like that you literally just told, like, it wasn't obviously the argument we just had. You pretended like you were coaching somebody, but it was obviously you talking back to me in this argument. Like, how do you think I work my shit out? You know,
you were working through it.
It's therapy. Movement is therapy in medicine.
If we're having this contention between us as a couple, or this conversation, this theme is coming up, there's other people are having it too.
Yeah, so of course.
I'm not just like reading from a quote book and just like randomly throwing it in. There is this synergistic reason behind what I say. Very few classes are scripted. Most classes, I just have my cues, right? Mm-hmm. Cadence, resistance, speeds, on, off, times, intervals, like whatever. Some classes, I script every single word.
Okay.
Like, example, not every single word, but like the Jess King experience or whatever. And I would akin that most of my classes, but something like that where the intention has been like to the second, to the millisecond of every class, timed, coded, that it really is so much like the way a DJ would think about their live performance. A DJ like Odessa, right? Yeah. DJs like Odessa, DJs like Rufus. We're talking about people who create huge theatrical experiences, and they don't do it just to be like, hey, here's our stuff, listen to it. It's like, we're taking you on a journey. We're thinking about how to surprise you. We're thinking about how to make you cry. We're thinking about how to make you feel joy. We're thinking about how to make you connect to other people. What are the sounds? What are the qualities of the movement? Where do we put that in the heat map of the show? And everything is super, super intentional. And that is, so everything that you feel in a class, it's not just the thing that I said. It's the song that's playing and the song that played before. It's what you just went through 7 minutes ago, 3 minutes ago. It's all building and layering on top of each other so that when you actually hear the thing, it's really not the words. Because let me tell you what, discomfort equals growth. True. Is that new information for you?
No, but
No, it wasn't.
Right.
But the way that everything brought you to that point opened you up to be able to hear it and create resonance for you.
Yeah.
So that you could interpret that and apply that to your life. And I think that's what makes us masterful. That's what makes Peloton instructors unlike,
it's true.
Anything, right? Because it's not just about giving you a great workout. Yes, you're getting that. It's not just about making it fun or making it, that it is about your holistic experience, elevating you physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, enriching your lives on and off the platform. And the way to do that is to put all of that into every single experience. So it is thoughtful. It is incredibly thoughtful by design. So, yay.
Redheads, have you heard?
We aired on ABC's Shark Tank, episode 14, season 15. We are busy developing products and continuing to grow this incredible Redhead lifestyle brand.
Check out our mascara and eyebrow products in red hot shades, hair care, merch, lifestyle items, and so much more. Redheads, we can now rejoice.
Finally, there are products for us.
Use code podcast to get 15% off your next purchase. Shop at shop.howtobearedhead.com.
Yeah.
No, I love that.
I'm also obsessed. So yes.
Speaking of music too, I was looking at your stories. This had to be a year ago, Jess, and I saw that you were at a Lane 8 concert in Brooklyn or something.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, my husband and I were supposed to go. We didn't go. And I just saw just how much fun. I think you had just had your baby.
Mm-hmm.
I think you just did, and you were out there and and I know how those concerts are because I love Lane 8. I love them all. But I don't know why it inspired me, not that I don't have children, but it just inspired me that you let yourself have so much fun. I just felt that when I saw you, it just seems like you carry your energy in all these different areas of your life, not just on the bike. It's real. You know what I mean? It's not just a performance. It's who you are.
It is, but I do want to paint a real story of what that looks like, especially now as a mom.
Yeah.
It's by the time the show rolls around, let's say it's a typical show that happens 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. or something like that. The thought of having to stand up, I'm like, I can't stand. I literally cannot stand.
Stay up that late.
How am I going to stay awake for this? Most of the time you take a nap before, right?
Why
am I doing that? And then not to mention, how am I going to wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning and be with the baby? So this phase is going out. I missed the Solomon show recently. There's some shows that I've missed, and but it's this compromise of okay, I'll hit maybe 1 or 2 this summer, 3 if I'm lucky. But this is a chapter where that fun has to be scheduled. And Adrienne, I think it is important to schedule fun for people like us who, again, we attract the thing that we are not. And one, a dynamic that Sophia and I have is, I say to her, you keep me wild. And she says, you keep me safe.
Oh,
and it's true because the way that I work, right, is it keeps this family together. It keeps us. That's why I say when they're so 2 moms, I'm you can call me daddy if you want. I'm in the car. I'm the one that's if those dynamics mean anything to anybody, they don't in our home. But the truth is I'm the one that I'm wired to do this. This is how I show love. This is how I show up for this family. And how she shows up is by saying, hey, when's your next day off? Let's go do something fun. Let's plan this. Let's schedule that.
I count on my husband for the same thing.
It's important as a parent. I mean, anyone, but I relate to what you said about, waking up early. My husband and I we deal with that because we want to make sure we have us time together and then separate times with our friends. Like I'm going to Miami tomorrow with my 2 best friends, and I need that. I haven't seen them in a year. I need to fill up I just need to be with my girlfriends for just a couple days. And then he does that with his friends in August. And I think that's so important for us personally to do that and kind of recharge separately and then together. But I totally relate to what you said, because we want to have fun and do things and we try to plan things, but then it's like, oh crap, like I know I see a runny nose and I know you're going to be up early. And sometimes we sacrifice and we're like, hey, we want to go out and we want to, stay out to midnight if we can get a babysitter or someone. But then sometimes we cancel and we're just like, oh, let's just stay home. It's not worth it. So you kind of just have to pick and choose and know. But I love that you mentioned fun, because I think that's so important to
not miss out on that.
Miss that. Yeah.
And for me, because the opportunity to have fun is so limited, I'm very selective in like what I choose to do, and especially who I choose to do it with. I'm like, some things just don't sound fun to me, but what sounds fun to me is turning music up so loud that it's impossible for people to talk to me, and putting my hands up in the air and having laser lights dance all over my face, and for 4 hours letting music just kind
take
of
over your body,
moves me away. And guess what? Everybody else in the room is feeling that same vibration of joy,
that energy. Yes.
And I don't have to play the music. I don't have to control the experience until I do, because I started DJing. So
yes. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, I want to control their experience too.
Yeah.
So yeah, fun, man. Now I really want to go to a show.
I know. Well, I was just thinking, before we go to, you were talking about instant tan in the beginning, and from Stephanie and I are big instant tan people. We really are. And it wasn't even on our list to talk about. Do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite kind? I was like, what does Jess King use?
And do you do it yourself, or do you go to a place and get sprayed?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Who has time to go to a place and get sprayed when it is one or twice, once at least twice a week? I haven't done it. I'm at the end. All right. I should have, because for today I'm on camera and I have a run tonight. I didn't. So I'm going to do something heinous. I'm going to use, the Sally Hansen leg spray.
Yeah. Wow.
With a throwback. And put it on my arms.
Oh.
And teach my class. Otherwise, there have been times that I'm like, okay, I'm just going to embrace it. I'm a redhead. Who cares if I'm pale? Whatever. And then I see myself on in a class at Peloton, or even just in the thumbnail, and I'm like, no. You look unwell. It's not good.
I get that. I told Stephanie on the podcast, I was like, maybe we shouldn't do maybe we should always cover our arms. That's not why we're doing it today, but our arms
are so pale.
Yeah.
Okay, so
every podcast episode is going to be my ghost arms.
We went to the beach this past weekend with our whole Adrian and I's family, and I took a family picture. My husband, complete opposite of me. He is tans beautifully.
Like Jess's wife. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like 1/16 or he's a little bit Native American. So very, very small. But I think he takes after that from his dad. Brunette. But we took a family picture together, and my legs are ghost white in the picture. I sent it to my girlfriend and I was like, I forgot. It wasn't on my, how you have a mental to-do list before a trip, like packing, got to do laundry.
Oh yeah.
Sunless tanner wasn't on it for some reason, but I looked at that picture and I was just like, holy crap. If I don't put sunless tanner on with my 2 friends who I'm going to be a ghost next to them. So it was just such a realization that I do need sunless tanner at times, even though I've embraced my fair skin as I've gotten older.
If I wasn't on camera, I would not care.
When
I have breaks or whatever, I give my skin a break, because the process is just really is the bane of my existence. It'll be 11 p.m. and I'll get in bed and be like, Dad, I have to get out of the bed and put it on a shoot or something. It's just horrible. And so, no, I've become radically self-reliant. I can, I have to put it on myself. I put it on my back. I figured out
Do you do your face?
I don't ask me my habits. They're bad. Yes, I put on my face. I recently stopped and got the doctor did their wipes. They're actually self tanner, and it kind of like builds.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, those are great. Speaking of being redheads, I know you didn't have your legs out in the sun with no SPF, girl.
Oh yeah, no, we are sunscreen queens.
Are you? Do you wear a lot of sunscreen?
I wear a ton of sunscreen. I also don't expose my skin to the sun on top of that.
Yeah. So what are you putting on now?
This is just this is JLo's SPF.
Oh, nice. I thought the packaging looked familiar. I was like, that looks like hers.
I like
awesome.
her. I like her products like for during the day. So like I'm constantly washing my face.
Yeah.
And like workouts or makeup or sometimes even reapplying and washing again. And so to use like my medical grade products 5 times a day is like
it's
unrealistic.
Yeah, right.
But I really like using her products throughout the day. Like, I like her. But sunscreen, but I also like, I'm embarrassing to go on vacations with because I have like the huge hat, the glasses, and long pants.
Oh my God.
Under an umbrella. And it was like, you having fun? I'm like, great.
Oh my God. On Sunday on the way home, my husband looks at me and goes, I just realized you didn't leave the tent once at the beach. And I was like, well, I left the tent to go chase after, I have a 3.5-year-old son. He was running and he doesn't know how to swim yet. So those are the only times that I ran out of the tent. But he goes, Adrian, he was like, you never left the tent. And I was like, he goes, I think you got paler.
Why risk it?
I know.
Why risk it and get a sunburn?
Because you always remember that worst sunburn, and it's horrible, and I never want to experience that again. But yes, it's so important. I did want to ask, when you're on the bike, have you learned techniques with like sweating and makeup, or is it?
So I used to feel like I could do my makeup pretty well. And then I started watching a bunch of TikTok and like you see something on TikTok, like a technique or whatever, you're like, okay, I'll try it. And then I went through months of feeling like I could never do my makeup, never get it right. It always caked. It always sticks. But I've just dialed it back now to barely putting anything on. Like
just minimal.
As little product as possible, mostly like tinted moisturizers or BB creams and like using concealer, not a lot of powders. If I have like full glam, then I will do like powders and setting sprays and stuff like that. But we're sweating a lot, but like it's for a very short amount of time. Right?
Yeah.
When I was in Cirque du Soleil when I was in Le Rêve, this was a water show. And we had 2 shows a night. So when I tell you I would put my makeup on for the first show and it would last me through to the second show from being underwater for 50% of that.
Oh my God.
Because we would just powder, you just layers and layers of powder.
Yeah. Wow. Oh my God.
So you can waterproof anything.
And I wanted to ask too, have you always been one like a redhead who's embraced color? Because we were looking at your Instagram, love your new headshots with the blue that you were wearing. But I was telling Adrian, one of the things that I really have embraced throughout the years is embracing color. And I loved when my husband and I got the Peloton bike during quarantine with COVID. I was so drawn to your classes. I think I was like, oh my God, there's a redhead, and but I loved all the colors that you were wearing and currently wear, like neon and bright colors. And it made me actually start in terms of workout gear, like not just I looked at all my stuff and I was like, oh my God, I have like all black stuff. And I think I've started to incorporate other colors, but you really inspired me. But yeah, so you've always embraced color. So that was, yeah.
Yeah, I've always been like, all right, I'm going to stand out. Let's give them a show, like we were vintage shopping the other day, and I was like, ooh, I ran over to something that was like sparkly and sequiny and like neon sequins. And Sophia was like, babe, when are you gonna like grow out of that? And I'm like,
Never.
You mean I'm just now growing into it? What do you?
Yeah. Oh, I love it. We just love you. And you know, there were so many things that we didn't get to talk about, but I just wanted to tell you that we read your entire story on Pop Sugar about your fertility journey. And I didn't want to leave this interview without telling you how powerful it was to read. I'm having chills just thinking about, you know, it was in detail about your whole, and I was just so, I was talking to Stephanie about it. I just said, I love how honest you are. I have such a problem being vulnerable, and I'm working on it. And I just read it and I was like, oh, she's so, I don't know. I know it sounds cliche to say inspirational, but I just really, I don't know. There's something about the story. It just made me feel like everything else in your life, you know, and then you conquered that, and now you have this beautiful family, and just congratulations on everything.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Yeah, the fertility thing was wild. I think especially for queer couples, it proved to be just a wow kind of experience.
Yeah.
And I actually thought there was something super interesting I learned that relates to being a redhead and being pregnant, which you may or may know about or have talked about on the show. But so I did a home birth. And
oh, you did?
Oh,
wow. Wow. Did Sophia do it too?
Yes. So my son was born in the bathroom in the foyer, and our daughter was born in the bedroom.
So wait, Jess, no epidural?
Mm-mm.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I give you like so. I mean,
Steph, are you not surprised after hearing her story?
No, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. Like, wow.
Listen, any woman,
I'm speechless,
that brings a child into this world, epidural or not, this doesn't make me, I don't think this gives me any sort of like superiority to any other person.
Of course, everyone's birth, pregnancy is so different.
Totally. Yeah. I'm so curious about the body. And you know, I have a very high threshold for pain, very high tolerance for pain, love pain.
They say redheads do.
Right. Yeah. They do. I love it. Okay. In a weird way.
How was it?
Anyway, this was what well past loving it. Okay. This was insanity. Are you kidding? It was like the first half of it. I was like, all right, because Sophia was pregnant at the time. So I was like, you can do this, babe. You could totally do this. And then like, you know, I pushed for like 4.5 hours. So once it like tipped into that, I was like, you know, I see why people take the drugs. This is
But have you already passed the point? I mean, you were doing a home birth, so you're mentally, were you preparing? Were you always preparing for a home birth?
I was so committed.
Okay.
For so many reasons, I did not want a hospital experience for myself.
Yeah.
I just had no interest in it. And again, was everything about the home birth, about just being able to be in my house and wake up and be there with the baby. And I had a healthy pregnancy. It was something I wanted. So I was not afraid of the pain. It's so intense that it doesn't register as pain anymore. There's not a word to describe it.
No, you kind of forget, right?
It goes so far past the Richter scale of just being able to register pain. Wow. It's just energy at that point, like coursing through you. But my point to saying this is that I had read along the way that redheads tend to hemorrhage more after they give birth. And I asked my midwife, I said, is this true or is this like wives' tale? And she goes, it's true. You did. Every redhead that I've ever had has always hemorrhaged. And I said, well, what do you do about that? And she goes, well, what you do is after you give birth, that's when she gave me a shot of Pitocin, which is what induces labor.
That's what I got with my daughter. I got Pitocin.
So none of that. I didn't get induced or any of that, but it was until after that I birthed my son. Then she gave me a shot of Pitocin because the reason why we bleed is that your placenta is attached, right?
Yeah.
With all these hundreds of thousands of tiny blood vessels. And so when it comes away and you pass the placenta, then it becomes unattached and they bleed. So the Pitocin helps to contract the uterus faster around the bleeding to help it stop.
Okay.
So it's every little nook and turn of life. There's this like, why are bees chasing me? Like, what is this? Like, why am I constantly being surrounded by bumblebees? I'm like, oh, it's a redhead thing. Like,
it's a redhead thing. It is.
Why do my arms this way? Oh, it's a redhead thing. Why do I require more anesthesia? Or like, if I'm ever trying to take myself, like alcohol, for example, I don't really feel tipsy. I just get drunk. You know what I mean?
Same. I think I'm the same. I think I'm the same.
In between. Like, it's so bizarre. That's why I don't drink. Like, none of that. I can't. What's the point of this? But yeah, so there's just been some interesting things that I've learned, and that was super fascinating in all the ways that I learned about my body, being pregnant and having a baby. I think that was one of the most interesting, that like, and now this thing happens because we're a redhead. So I own it. I love it. I'm getting my hair done tomorrow. By the way, red hair goes gray. What is happening to me?
I know. I'm getting whites like right at the top, and it's just not cool. Yeah.
We wanted to ask, because I did see your latest Instagram. You're dropping a big announcement at 5, but then someone. Yeah.
Well, okay. I'm just doing an Odessa run.
Oh, that was the Instagram story we saw. Okay, so you and Emma Lovewell are doing one.
Yeah, she's riding and running. Yeah.
Oh my God, that was the news. Okay, because I was like, wait, was that the news? Because right before coming on, I saw your Instagram stories. That's amazing. But I mentioned that post because someone commented, where do you get your hair colored? And then I saw that you said Stephanie Diaz in the East Village, right? So how often do you have to go?
So this, I don't know what lighting you have here. My hair this is like 8 weeks. I haven't gone in 8 weeks. So like, you can see my natural color. You can see like, where it's different.
Yep. A little bit.
And like the grays actually change it. So like, this is essentially what it looks like. And then
I love your color. And so you get actual dye with her, and then have to go every few months.
I do like every 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay.
But
it's beautiful.
It's just for like the roots mostly,
Yeah. I feel like I'm going to have to get that when I start getting more whites in my hair.
And it's only because I wanted to amplify my red. Like I can see so much that I want to be like, I have this like beautiful gold. My hair's like gold. It's not really red. It's like,
you want to amplify it more.
Yeah. I'm like, I want like, let's go. You know what I
mean? Did you feel like your hair changed at all during pregnancy?
It does feel different now. I definitely have so much hair. I have thick hair.
I think it's a redhead thing. Yeah, thick hair.
We have more hair on our head per square capita, I think.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's thick.
You know all your redhead facts, Jess.
Oh, girl. I've been following you guys for years.
See what happens?
Yeah. I'm like, I'm thinking about myself. This is so great. But I just, now that all of like the postpartum hair loss, which I never felt because I have so much hair, I didn't really realize it. It started growing back. And then it was like this like mini afro.
I had it really bad.
Fro inside of this.
Yeah.
Very hot. It's very hot.
Yeah. I went
through Jess, we want to thank you so much for doing this interview. I know we're a little over, and just thank you for your time.
Oh my gosh. I feel like we could talk to you for hours.
Yeah. Are you kidding? Love it.
Well, I love being here. I love the two of you and everything that you're doing. Thank you for having me. And it was so great to connect. I hope it's not the last time.
Yes, of course.
Same.
Thank you for being just authentic and beautiful and just strong, powerful. I mean, you're just, the list goes on and on. You're really, truly, you're so inspiring. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.